So new information has come out about the Xbox Scorpio, and already people are claiming the sky is falling, that Scorpio's been downgraded, that it has new specs, new things inside the box. So let's talk about what was actually revealed. The new information comes by way of Digital Foundry, who got their hands on a white paper entitled, quote, Reaching 4K and GPU Scaling Across Multiple Xbox Devices. So this was a paper on multiple Xbox devices, not just on the Scorpio. And a white paper is a report about information or proposals of an issue. And of course, one issue that devs may have is reaching 4K resolution. So this goes over different techniques designed to help them out. And it goes over what Microsoft has, kind of understood themselves about this box that they built. And by the way, this document has been verified. It came directly from Microsoft's portal page. So they were able to take it, ask several different developers, hey, can you tell me if this page is real or not? And they were able to say yes. So this page is real. As far as the tech inside the box, one of the things mentioned was that ESRAM is not going to be in Scorpio. ESRAM has been talked a lot about. Some people were hoping that it was going to really help things out as far as speed and memory limitations go. Other people said it's kind of a drag because it's something that's on Xbox One that's not on other platforms. So that's kind of like one extra added step that you have to do for Xbox One. But they say that Scorpio is not going to need ESRAM because Microsoft has upgraded the RAM. It's a whole lot faster. And so it basically does away with the need for this ESRAM. But they do say that you do need to keep on using it for Xbox One games. So devs are not going to be able to get away from this. They're still going to have to use it because Microsoft has stated that devs can't have Scorpio only games. So that means they're still going to have to use the ESRAM whenever they're bringing their games over to the original Xbox. This white paper reconfirms the 6 teraflop GPU that we've heard Microsoft confirm in the past, and they say that it's rated 4.5 times the power of Xbox One, which is again something that we've heard mentioned before. So none of that has changed. It also mentions that it has 4 times the L2 cache. That means that the GPU architecture that it's using is modern AMD Polaris technology. Now, what a lot of people have been concerned about with this story is the CPU and what I'm about to read to you. But keep in mind, this paper does not tell you what is inside the Xbox. It doesn't tell you whether it's a Jaguar or another type of CPU. It doesn't tell you if it's Zen. Just a few weeks ago at CES, there were a lot of people going wild because at the AMD booth, they had a Scorpio pictured at the Zen booth, which is AMD's latest CPU that's not even out on store shelves yet. Ryzen is the full name for it. But I told people at the time on Twitter, I said, don't read too much into it. Don't get your hopes up for it. And so anyway, the part of the white paper that has people talking is they say this, quote, we acknowledge that developers may not wish to spend all of their additional GPU resources of Project Scorpio on resolution, and this is not mandated. To make the best games possible, developers will inevitably spend GPU resources on other quality improvements, such as higher fidelity shadows, reflections, texture filtering, so on. Another option developers might consider is frame rate upscaling, running graphics at 60 but the CPU at 30 and interpolating animation. So the key there is that last section talking about running the frame rate upscaling and having the CPU run a game at 30, but actually using interpolation to achieve 60 frames per second. And it's sort of like, it's not the same exact technique, but it's sort of like how the PSVR says a game is running at 120 frames per second, even though the games on PSVR aren't actually running at 120 frames per second. They're using different techniques in order to sort of cheat, for lack of a better term, to make it look that smooth. And so what Digital Foundry is saying is they say, look, if the Scorpio really had the Ryzen CPU inside Scorpio, then there really wouldn't be any need to tell developers how to use interpolating animations in order to hit 60 frames per second. Like if it had the latest, greatest CPU in it, then you're not going to have to use these different techniques in order to achieve that, and the CPU would have plenty enough power to achieve 60 frames per second on its own. Now, this is just simply reading between the lines, and it's a good educated guess, which could suggest that the CPU in the Scorpio didn't get the same sort of update as the GPU. But again, we need to point out we have no idea what CPU is inside Scorpio. It could be a Jaguar, it could be something else, but I would not get my hopes up that it is a Zen inside it. The only thing Microsoft has stated so far is that it's going to have an 8-core CPU. That's pretty much it. The white paper also mentions different techniques that developers can use to improve efficiency without impacting image quality. And they cite examples of using half resolution, which is a technique where you can run a game at a certain resolution but have different elements inside the game run at a lower resolution. Say if you wanted to lower the resolution of shadows and things like that, then that would help you achieve that 4K resolution. The other one that they talk about is called sparse rendering, which, funny enough, is basically the same thing as what PS4 Pro is doing whenever they talk about checkerboarding. And this goes on to mention that the exact same presentation that Mark Cerny referenced several months ago was mentioned in this Microsoft white paper. And look, I said just a few videos ago, as far as the PS4 Pro goes, I said I don't think most people care that a lot of the games don't run at native 4K. They're running at this checkerboarding resolution, which looks just as good a lot of times as native 4K. And 99% of the population is not going to be able to tell the difference. And so people don't really care, I don't think. But what's kind of funny and kind of sad, to be honest, is you remember Microsoft was sort of shooting off at the mouth. They were firing some shots at Sony, saying that, look, the PS4 Pro can't do true native 4K resolution, and because they're using this checkerboard technique. So that they're talking shit about Sony using this technique that they're telling their developers on the back end, hey, you can use this technique. So it's like, wow, pretty shitty, Microsoft. And this may also mean that it's not the true 4K gaming machine that Microsoft has been touting. And look, I mean, I've told you multiple times now, and I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing me say it, 6 teraflops may be the strongest console you ever put your hands on, but as far as a PC is concerned, it's close to a mid-range PC GPU today. And by the time that this actually launches, there's going to be even higher-end GPUs out on the market, so it's going to be even further behind. And even top-of-the-line cards that you can get today have trouble running 4K at high frames per second. And so I just hope that there isn't a heavy price paid just so they can tout a resolution number that most of us don't care about. Now, that's not to say that there aren't going to be 4K native resolution games on the Xbox, and I think there will probably be several. The white paper does mention that they were able to take a game and easily transfer it to native 4K from 1080p resolution. They don't say what that game was, but a lot of people are suggesting that it's probably Forza, which would be a good guess. Again, this paper is going over techniques that Microsoft is simply suggesting to help devs get where they want to go. So if you want to cut a few corners here and there as far as the resolution in order to achieve better graphics in one area or higher frames per second, then these are the skills that you can use in order to get there. Microsoft isn't demanding that devs use the GPU resources for higher resolution, and they're leaving it up to developers to decide how they want to use the power for their games, which is what I would like. So, was there a downgrade? No. Has Microsoft changed anything inside the box? No. We're simply adding more pieces to the puzzle. We're actually getting a few more pieces, and we've still got a lot of questions that'll be answered over the upcoming months. If you want to read this full report, links down in the description box. That does it for me, the Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.